Women podcast. We believe that in constant change and growth that we find fulfillment, not in perfection. Perfection is like a closed door, whereas striving to be better is always an open door. Our purpose is to enhance the best of women every day by empowering yourself to create your own success stories. Empowerment comes through self-knowledge, accompanied by soft skills development and professional knowledge. Finally, a podcast for women that seeks to act intelligently and sustainably in all aspects of your life. As a mother, professional, a daughter, friend, spouse, and in your interactions with your community. May your life be an open door to many possibilities. We will inspire you to pursue the changes you need to achieve 5 stars in all aspects of your life. And now, your trusted advisor, Bettina Meyer-Flug.
Have you heard about 5G technology? Do you know what that means? It's very relevant subject these days. There are many advantages and also disadvantages of this new technology. Don't leave here because this podcast is to explain all these details. First, what does 5G mean? G is of generation. There are technologies that have been arriving in cellular technology. For example, the technology for the first G allow us to speak on cordless phones. Those big bricks, you remember? They did nothing. The only thing they did was to allow you to speak and hear someone else's voice without a wire connection. The 2G technology has already brought something new, brought a new possibility for us to send SMS and text messages. People started to communicate throughout those messages written in their phones. The 3G technology brought the possibility of the internet connection. We started to be able to send audio messages and using some programs and apps that were not so heavy. We were able also to read emails in a slow way, but it already worked. The 4G technology allows us to access networks, stream better games, allows us to use apps like Waze and Google Maps in real time. And throughout this 4G capability, we were able to do a lot more data transmissions. It allows us to use much more advanced computer games and better images. The 5G technology, for you to have an idea, when it's full capacity, it will be 600 times faster than 4G. It will start to be at 100 times faster, allowing data transmissions on 1.5 gigabytes per second. But in its full capacity, it will be 10 gigabytes per second. It will be extraordinary. It will allow games to be much more real, artificial intelligence, all electronic devices, such as autonomous cars that can communicate with red lights, and also it will allow remote surgeries. Today, you already have people who are operating with robotics, but the doctors have to be there. With 5G technology, a doctor in Germany, for example, will be able to do an operation here in the United States because there will be no delay on the internet. Things are going to be real time. We're going to have, like I said, extraordinary things. 5G technology will allow electronic devices to talk with each other. Your refrigerator, your Alexa, your washing machine, everything will be connected. Because of this, many things will happen. And I did some research to understand more about this subject, but some complications will arise also with the 5G technology, and we have to prevent those problems. So I decided to record this podcast for you and invite a special person, Dr. Heidi Golding, to speak with us today. She spends over 10 years working on the wireless technology with AT&T and Lucent Technology, who build the cellular networks. Dr. Golding's passions for healing dates back many years. Her oldest sister suffered from a terminal childhood disease in their late teens. After spending over a decade in the corporate world, she found it was necessary to transform the anguish and struggle of losing her sister into something positive. She chose to study and gain insight on the healing process via an ancient art of Chinese medicine, a profound medical system thousands of years ago. Though her extensive practice, research, and studies, Golding believes the most profound improvements are made when there is alignment in body, mind, and soul. Therefore, treatments are focused on helping patients regain a sense of internal balance with their internal environment as well as the external. Dr. Hiding is nationally board certified with NCCAOM and holds California and Colorado acupuncture board licensure, as well as maintains a Diplomat of Oriental Medicine status. She holds her doctorate in acupuncture and Chinese medicine from Pacific College of Oriental Medicine in San Diego. Heidi, thanks for being in our show today. I love to start asking some personal questions if you don't mind. When you're not treating patients, what do you love doing?
Oh, Bettina, I love to do yoga, go on hikes, spend time with my family. So I have a son and a daughter in their teens right now, and my husband, and we love to go skiing and just really love to be in the outdoors.
And why did you move to Colorado? I know you're not from here. Can you tell me the reason?
Yes, I'm originally from Wichita, Kansas, and went to school in New Orleans and then worked in New Jersey and got my MBA at Rutgers in New Jersey, and then worked for AT&T in their headquarters and Lucent Technologies, and then was recruited to move to San Diego to work with Cricket Wireless headquarters support in San Diego. So I ended up living in San Diego and raising my family in their early years there. And a couple years ago, we moved to Colorado because we love the healthy lifestyle here. We feel there's a little bit of a higher consciousness of people here. It's so beautiful. No matter where you are, you can see the mountains. They're very grounding. And it's just a healthier lifestyle to finish raising our children here. And there was, and for economic reasons as well, it's just a lot better financially to be here.
That's great. I love being here too. I need to confess that she's amazing on what she does. She loves it so much that she practices all the time. And I can tell you right now, I'm full of needle ears, and with her electric currents equipment attached to my body, I hope at the end of this podcast I'll be feeling much better. Can you tell me a little bit more about this electric currents equipment that you use?
Yeah, so Bettina, it's been wonderful because I did spend about 10 years working with wireless technology. I was able to work on the transition from 2G to 3G, which was quite amazing. And like you said, we are now at 5G, which is that fifth generation, which it is going to be quite amazing. It's the Internet of Things, and it's going to be quite pervasive. So some of the things that our bodies need are frequencies that resonate with the body, because the cellular frequencies that are out there are they're just a very different frequency. And we'll talk about the science if you want a little bit later, but they don't resonate. They're called non-native frequencies. And the frequencies that I use with the machine that you have on right now, I learned this from Carol McMacken, and it's called frequency specific microcurrent. And it's a custom care unit that generates frequencies that resonate with our body. So frequencies like in the hertz, for any of you out there that know what hertz or megahertz or kilohertz are, that cellular technology is, for the most part, resonating, or the frequency bands are at the 850 megahertz band. The 5Gs are going to be at the 1.2 gigahertz up to 64 gigahertz. It is thousands and thousands of times more than what our body actually vibrates at. You could say frequency is kind of like what it vibrates at. And so what you have on right now are frequencies that are resonating in the hertz. And that is like thousands of times less. And it actually heals tissue. So right now we're doing some things. I'm not going to disclose what we're doing for you right now, but we're doing some things to really help you feel better and be more in balance. And so what we're doing is using this custom care unit to help you feel better and to actually have frequencies resonate with your body.
Yeah, I heard that this new 5G technology will have a huge impact in humans and animals. Some scientists are saying that this technology will generate a multiple radiation much higher than we have today. Some claim that the wireless technology without being cable will produce much more cancer in people. What is your opinion about this?
Yeah, so you talked about all the positive effects, and there's so many positive effects to being able to do surgeries remotely, to be able to do distance learning, from wherever you are. And there's going to be so many benefits, information-wise, access to information. Economically, there's going to be a lot of companies that are going to have access to information, even our public utilities. You don't have to send a guy out to get information because there will be a wireless connection between everyone's home and the public utility company. So there's going to be data that can be used and received remotely. So there's going to be a lot of good economics with this. But there also are going to be a lot of challenges. And so and let me explain this. I hope I can simply explain this, but my understanding from working with the cellular, the 2G, the 3G, and as we've increased in the generations, these companies, Verizon and Sprint and AT&T, have to go out and they have to purchase frequencies. So there's auctions and they buy frequencies and they get certain bands of frequencies. And the ones that are available are the ones that are way up there in the gigahertz now. And these technologies have actually been used for crowd control, some of these frequencies. And so when you get into frequencies that are very high up into the gigahertz, which is what these frequencies are going to be running on, and what this technology is going to be utilizing to send information over, are very, very short range. Very, very high data, but very short range. And so the frequencies that we resonate with are much longer range and much slower in the hertz range. So when you have frequencies in the gigahertz, you don't have a lot of range. So you have to put the antennas on like every street light, for example, if you want to cover a neighborhood. You're going to have to put a lot of frequency, a lot of antennas out there to generate and to be able to propagate the frequencies to hit our phones or hit the antennas that are at our houses or the antenna that's now on your refrigerator. And to penetrate walls and things like that, you're going to have to be very close. And so we are going to be inundated. In the past, when we introduced 3G, which was digital cellular technology, there were two frequency bands out there. There was an 850 megahertz and there was a 1.2 gigahertz. The 850 megahertz was the cellular people that had the cellular range, and then there was the PCS frequency band. And I don't know if this is boring for people, but the people that had the cellular range, and the AT&T, Verizon, they had frequencies that they had auctioned and they had purchased in an auction, and they were able to use a lot less base stations or cell sites than the people that bought the frequencies at the 1.2 gigahertz, because they had to buy a third more cell sites, because as you go up in range, you need to have the cell sites closer together to communicate. And so when we get up into these gigahertz, higher gigahertz, 64, etc., you better bet they're going to have a lot of antennas all over the place. And that's why they're starting in metropolitan areas and they're covering small areas first. And then they're going to be expanding into the more rural areas.
But they're going to have satellites all over the world to be able to have those antennas and these retransmissions happening. So how this is going to impact our life? Having every corner antenna reproducing those signs is going to be much more stronger than it is today. That's the problem.
Yeah, so understanding it from a wireless technology standpoint, and then now with my doctorate in Chinese medicine and my work with frequency-specific microcurrent, which I've introduced into my practice, I understand, and using the work of Gerald Pollack, The Fourth Phase of Water, and Jack Kruse, and some of his studying of the research that's out there, there is dramatic changes to our cellular biology when we introduce these technologies.
And also what is going to impact us a lot is the artificial intelligence. Every time we're going to get more addicted to devices in our house, I cannot live without an Alexa anymore, and more devices are going to come. They're going to be connected throughout artificial intelligence. So having more devices using Wi-Fi, how this will impact our lives. And how normally at night you can put your cellular phone in the corner like all my family does. We recharge, we have a charger station where we put our mobile phones, but if you have in your whole house equipment, in your bedroom, in your bathroom, how are you going to avoid those devices and this wireless? What is your recommendation to prevent that?
Well, I mean, we are inundated with technology now. We are inundated with these non-native frequencies. And Bettina, we are meant to be in sunlight. And it's only been 120 years or so that we have introduced electricity into our lives. And there's been a lot of changes. We've had to evolve. And I think that's the question is, how are we going to evolve to handle this non-native pollution that's in our environment? Because what we really strive for, what our bodies need, is the sunlight. And our bodies, we need to take, we take in information. And there's been a lot of research, and it's very recent research that Jack Kruse talks about. And that is that our eyes and our skin, and even the subcutaneous layer underneath our skin, our fat layer, is actually they have receptors called melanopsin receptors, and they pull in sunlight. And there's a lot of now science behind the fact that our retinas, so there's receptors in the back of our retinas that need and that pull in information from the sunlight. And so when we pull in, this is native frequency or native information that our bodies need, instead of the frequencies that these cellular companies are now sending out. It's very damaging. And the reason why is because our body needs red light. Our body needs ultraviolet light. And we have receptors to pull in that information. And it tells so if you think about your retina and where it sits in your head, right behind it is actually your hypothalamus. Our hypothalamus is the organ in our body that actually regulates our hormones. 3 centimeters behind our retina sits that hypothalamus, and it's getting information from the sunlight. And if we don't feed that sunlight to our bodies, and we just feed it non-native frequencies and energies through these things that we have that are man-made, then we become very sick. And the science behind that has to do with things that are studied by Gerald Pollack, for example. All of our cells are negatively charged. Our organs are negatively charged. And when we introduce this blue light, because when you don't get the sunlight that you need, and we really need it when we wake up in the morning up until about 10 a.m., if you don't get that type of light, the specific spectrum of light, instead you get this blue light from all of these devices, you introduce inflammation into the body. You don't tell the hypothalamus what hormones to make at what time. And there are chemical reactions that happen that people that understand biochemistry would understand. I mean, we pull in, we alter melatonin. We get the melatonin that we need in the morning. But if we're introducing blue light all throughout the day, we're not going to be making the melatonin that we need. And melatonin is what regulates our sleep and our wake cycles. So we're going to be exhausted in the morning and very tired at night. Our dopamine and our serotonin, most of it, yes, is made in the gut. We're starting to realize that, but it's also regulated by the hypothalamus and the light and the frequencies that it gets.
So you're saying that it's very important to be in contact with the sun. Our kids are doing homeschooling right now, online schooling, and they wake up and they stay with their pajamas and go in front of the computer. But what will be ideal? How long they should at least stay in the sun or go outside per day in the morning? And we should do that too?
Absolutely. So these kids are now living in front of a screen, and now they're addicted to TikTok, and they're and they're getting a dopamine rush, which we need. People, we're going to do what our biology tells us to do. And just like you said, you get addicted to these devices. Well, we get a dopamine rush. Why do you think in Las Vegas, and this is something that Jack Kruse said that I find very interesting. In Las Vegas, they introduce you to all this artificial light. There's no windows in the casinos. Why do you think, Bettina?
No idea.
they actually know that you're going to try to get dopamine rushes from gambling more. They're going to give you crappy food, and you're going to gamble more and more and more and try to keep getting that dopamine rush because you're not getting it from natural light. So it's our kids too. They're in these artificial environments, and they're not even getting outside to go to school. So they're not even getting the sunlight. And you can't just sit behind a window because the window itself screens out 50 to 60% of the red light that you need and a lot of the UV light that you also need. And it gives you relatively a very large quantity of blue light, which increases your histamine, increases your inflammation in your body, and it decreases your dopamine and serotonin and all those hormones that you need to feel good.
But what do you suggest?
So I suggest that, and not just what I suggest, this is what the research shows. And in Chinese medicine, your digestive time is early in the morning. So if you want to affect the gut, which we know the gut makes all of these hormones, you need to get outside and get some real sunlight between the hours of when the sun rises up to 10 a.m. And it's really hard, right? Because these kids are waking up right before they go to school. But to get up, see the sunrise, or get sunlight anywhere between 10 and 30 minutes before 10 a.m. is really going to help restructure those cells, keep those negative. So what Gerald Pollack has said is the cells have a membrane that's charged at about it's a negative 60. And to keep that membrane charged so that it can keep distance from the other cells around it, this decreases cancer. And the mitochondria that sit in those cells have a negative 90 charge. So to keep those membranes at the negative charges, and I could explain it more if you want the science. I don't know if people are interested, but it literally keeps us feeling alive. And that is really what qi is in the body, this negative charge. The sun is like an anion, and our bodies and the earth is like cation. They're positive. So we need the sun's negative ions. So the negative is good. The negative energy to come down and fill the earth with these negative ions. We need to stand barefoot on the earth, pull in that negative energy, and that decreases the inflammation in our body and creates the balance that we need for our cells.
So it's very important to walk barefoot in the yard. You recommend me. I'm doing this every morning. I feel much more alive and grounded. But how can we do this with our kids?
Well, we don't necessarily need them to ground. It's just the secret that between you and me, right? But it's a wonderful thing to do. But just getting out in the light, not looking at the sun, but getting that sun on our skin and, just seeing the daylight.
Like running a bike in the morning.
Absolutely.
Or doing
Walking
exercise.
the dog. Yeah.
Yes, and I see with artificial intelligence also the development of technology in our house. We're doing less and less, exercising less and less. And this is impacting our life too, our capability of deal with those energies. Do you think exercise is related to that too?
Yeah, and exercise outside. I mean, when people are going in the gyms or they're getting these bikes and I don't remember what they're called, but these bikes where you stay inside, and that's really a shame because so much of our health has to do with being outside and being outside in natural light because unfortunately we are so exposed and overexposed to this blue light.
And how we do that once we're here in Colorado and the 4 seasons are very strong, we have a high winter. Do you think this will impact us if we cannot go outside so often during the winter? Can we counterpound staying out longer during summer? What can we do to balance this?
You can still
weather?
You can still go outside and it's cold, right? Because like I said, it's not just the skin exposure, it's also your eyes and what we see, right? So we can always go outside, we can always walk, we can go skiing, we can go up in the mountains. I mean, you can still do that. And then there's other things. There's far infrared light that you can get. These places are opening up where you can do red lights. You can do have a sauna, right? A far infrared sauna. You can lay on a biomat to actually increase far infrared into your body that way. So there's other things that can replicate the outdoors.
What type of treatments do you normally do to help reduce the effect of this technology?
Yeah, so what I've been doing is studying with Carol McMacken, and using devices like you have right now that introduce resonant frequencies with the body. And we can understand that because, like people can sing in a certain tone that breaks a crystal glass, right? Because you're resonating that tone with the material essence of the glass, and the glass breaks. We know that in England there was a bridge in the 1800s that collapsed with a bunch of soldiers marching in sync. So now that's why when soldiers go over a bridge, they literally march off, they march out of sync with each other so that they don't somehow resonate with the sound, the material of the bridge and break it. So they break step. So what I do is use these frequencies to resonate. When you resonate a frequency with a certain tissue in the Hertz level that we've talked about, you actually can help increase the ATP, the protein synthesis of the cells in that tissue. And so when you increase ATP, that's the cellular energy. So you're impacting that mitochondria. You're actually increasing the cellular membrane of the mitochondria and allowing it to have a negative 90 volts, like I talked about, and you're increasing the easy layer on the cellular membrane of the cell itself to actually have more ability to synthesize things inside and out of the cell. And that is what actually creates health in a tissue.
Wow, I'm impressed with your background and everything you know. That's why I'm one of your patients, and I can confess I've been treating myself with Heidi for more than a year, and I see the benefits of it. And because of that, she introduced me to something very new, equipment that come from Europe called Healy. It's a consumer product that I bought. It's very new in the market. It comes from Berlin, Germany, like I said, and can be used by people to help balance the mind and body and relieve stress. Can you explain a little bit about Healy and how does Healy affect and can help this 5G that is coming?
Yeah, absolutely. So we talked about, that electricity really was introduced 120 years or so. We've had all of these things, and we have to evolve, Bettina. We have to evolve or we're going to kill ourselves out, right? And so part of that evolution is the fact that there's been things like Healy that have evolved to kind of help us, I think, through this change in technology that's kind of in our environment. And so Healy from Berlin used to be, it emanates from a company called Time Waver. And Time Waver has been around for about 22 years or so. And it's this incredible product that has generated frequencies. And it's different than the frequencies that I'm using with the unit you have on right now, which is only a professional use product. You really can't use it as a consumer, although there will be more products coming out that are consumer based. But right now, this Healy product is kind of the first of its kind. It's a consumer product that takes the technology that's being used in the Time Waver for 20 some years, and it's condensed it into this consumer product. And it's really fun. You actually, it's an app on the phone, and if you want to have less stress, then you push the stress button, right? And it just generates those frequencies for you to have less stress. And what it's doing, might seem kind of woo-woo, but it's based on technology from Nino Nunya, and Carol McMacken actually has had some influence in this product as well. And the Time Waver has utilized this for 22 years as a very successful product, so we know that it works. But now it's just consumer based.
And I'm in love with this product. I'm using it at home. Every morning when I wake up, I go and do my meditation in front of the sun. I walk on the grass, and then I turn on my Healy. I do the Healy Advisor to check out what I'm needing at the moment. I run on my husband when he arrives from work, my kids, and I use for stamina for sport. I use for stress balance. I use to have energy when I work and give my coaching sessions. So it's amazing. I really love. If you want to learn more, we can schedule some sessions to teach you how to use Healy. And you feel balanced if you decided you can invest and have your own equipment at home. Heidi and I would love to support you. She's offering some special packages for people who listen to this podcast. And how people can contact you, Heidi?
So you can go to my website at livingwellchinesemedicine.com. And you can also look on my Instagram account, which is livingwellchinesemedicine.com. And I also have some partners through livingwellhealthgroup.com. So those are a variety of ways you can reach me. And yeah, I am going to be offering a special for people that want to come and experience the biomat, which introduces far infrared. It's a very nice healing mat that has amethyst and tourmaline stones with some far infrared heat. And then on top of that, I'm going to be offering people the use of this FSM to actually help the body adjust to all of this new technology that's out there.
Great. And if you want to get in touch, my website is wyty.tech. You will find some package of Healy over there. You can start trying on with me. And if you want to decide and invest, have your own equipment, it's also possible. Contact Heidi if you want the special packages, and contact me if you want to know more about Healy.
Yes, and you have really done an amazing job of taking this Healy and running with it, Bettina. And I think you're one of the experts now in terms of understanding how it works and how to use it properly. So I really encourage people to talk to you about it.
Yes, I even learned how to do with animals. You can include your animals, a business, and send good energy. And it's working very well for my family. I hope I can help you out too. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Bettina.
Thank you for being our podcast. See you guys later.
Thank you for listening to Wisdom Women Podcast. To hear past and future episodes, please subscribe to the show on your favorite podcast channel. We appreciate your reviews and suggestions for future show topics. If you have a question or a suggestion, please write to us at podcast@wity.tech. More resources are available for you at our website, wity.tech. And please join us in the Wisdom for Nonprofits group on LinkedIn. Wisdom Woman is copyright 2020 by Bettina Meyer Fug and WITY.tech, all rights reserved.